for a toy. Okay.
Well,
What's
Mary.
coming out of the air? What's coming out of the air?
Actual rain! Yay! So I think today we've talked about going up into Travers Valley.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to sit outside and talk some fun history.
No.
I think we're going to have to, pony up and take a ride. And unfortunately, our dog's wet.
Yep, she's
So,
not going with us today.
No zip on the trip.
So we're going to be going up Travers Valley. Is that the way we should say it?
Well, we've got a dispute going on between the two of us because of history and road names. We are either going to Travis or Travers or
Travers.
Travers.
Well, it's Travers Valley, Mary.
Travis Valley.
Travers Valley.
Uh-oh.
Let's get that straight now.
No.
What do you think we should call it?
I think we should call it Traverse.
Oh, all right. This might get ugly.
We're getting ugly. I better be careful. She's going to get me with a stick.
Travers Valley. It's Travers Valley, not Travers. No.
Okay.
It's Travers Valley. It's Travers Valley.
It is Travers! It is Travers! It's Travers!
Put the stick down,
Put the
Mary.
stick down. Put the stick down.
I just think that coming to blows like this, we're not going to solve anything.
Absolutely not.
No.
It's time for us to hop in the car.
Get in the car and take a road trip.
There we go.
Yes. All right, Mary, I guess we're not going to settle this argument about the name of the valley.
Well, the valley. Which
Yep.
valley are we talking about, Nancy?
Well, people around here, around Independence and Whitehall, this part of the county, it's pretty well known. It's Travis or Travers Valley, and it is due west of Independence, and it's a big valley, and it has a lot of nice farmland in it. Everybody knows it. So we'll go out there and look, and if you're from the other end of the county, you'll just have to enjoy. And we are in downtown Independence right now on a Sunday. And we're going to be heading south out of town on Highway 93. And then we're going to take a right on County X, as in what? Xylophone.
Xylophone.
Right? Xylophone. And we'll be coming into the the lower parts of Travers Valley. Now today it's a little bit, I wouldn't really call it rainy so much as piddling on us a little bit. But that ought to be okay.
So the camera angles are going to be a little bit different. So,
Yes.
it may not be perfect and it may be speckly, but we're going to find out a little bit of history of the big dispute. Is it Travis? Is it Travers? Is it Traverse? Okay, one valley, lots of names.
Yes. So the first place that we're going to come to, when we get up here and take a right on the County X, will be the location of New City. And fans that were with us last summer, we did a show about New City School and Independence, because New City predated Independence. This was started in the 1850s. There was a man by the name of Carpenter, and he and Mr. Bouch, they had a mill pond and a mill out here at New City, and it was going to be the going place.
That was going to be the town.
That was going to be, they had plans for it to be a real trading center.
And it was for a while.
Yeah, it was. And I get up here and I'll look at my notes and I'll tell you all the things that they had at New City. But what put a kibosh on the whole thing was the
Railroad.
railroad.
You know,
yes.
that railroad, it kind of moved towns all over the place, didn't it?
It certainly made some problems in this county, didn't it? All right, here we are, and we are on to County X. And right up here ahead of us on this corner is the site of New City. So I'm going to take out my notes here, and I'm going to read a little bit about what was in New City. I think I'll stop for a minute.
And I wonder if the homes that are here were homes that were part of New City, or if they're older or newer, newer design. Because they look like they might be...
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
I think the house up here on the corner was a Bouch resident, and he was a real early, resident, so it's possible. Well, New City, it said, at one time had the mill in the mill pond. It had 2 stores, 2 taverns. It had Rumpel's Dance Hall.
Oh.
The post office. Now, I don't know if the post office was a separate building. Usually they put them in stores.
Right, yeah. Right.
And then it had a blacksmith shop and, of course, the school. And the school was there for quite a while. It was there from 1870 until 1954.
Do you know my grandmother taught at that school?
Yes, and Mary, I have something for you. I have this picture of Mary Jellen Elstead. She's to the right of Ephraim Flobby in the back row.
Wow.
She was the teacher in New City.
Now, do you think in this photo, was she...
She's the teacher.
The teacher, but was she a Jellen at the time, or was she already Elstead?
I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not sure. The photo said Elstead, but lots of times when, this was a picture and people put down, their married names.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if he was married then or not. But anyway, there is your illustrious ancestor.
Yes, that was my grandma.
Teacher. Yeah.
My granny. Cool.
Because she was a Jellen from home, right?
Yes. Yes.
And did they live in Independence?
I do believe so, because she would have to walk.
Yeah, well.
To come out to teach.
Now I think it was last summer, we went out looking for New City School, and we found it.
Yes.
And I fell in the ditch, but it was a lot of grass, so it was okay.
It was a fluffy fall.
Yes. And I came out this spring, and I got pictures of New City before the leaves went on the tree, because the school is right up here through these trees. But as you can see,
we're late again.
Yeah, we're not really looking at it, and I don't think I want to run through the grass today, if that's all right.
No, because it's kind of tall and wet.
And I've got the pictures of what it looks like. If you kind of look through the trees there, you're kind of looking through the windows.
You can see the window holes. The roof is collapsed.
Yeah, and it was really a unique school. It had a real different design than a lot that I've seen. Most of them were just kind of rectangular, but this one had kind of a higher roof and had a big front steps and everything.
It was pretty grand.
It was really a pretty neat school.
Do we have any footage from last year?
Oh yeah, and I'll put those pictures in too. It was and it was a school that was there for a long time, because they started the school district in 1870 and they did not close it until 1954. And so this brick school that's here, that was the second school. But that was really quite a long time for a school.
Yeah. But my grandma didn't teach there the whole time.
I'm sure she didn't.
And it would be interesting to check, because you have a history book that has the schools in it and when the teachers taught.
Yes, I can
find out how long. Yeah.
Yep. And lots of times back then, teachers were only hired for like what we would call a semester. Today they called it a term. And there were 2 different reasons. Lots of times these school teachers were considered to be, real plums in the marriage market.
Oh, okay. So they came as single women and then...
And they met some of the eligible young men in the neighborhood, and the next thing you know, they were married. And at that time, they didn't... married women weren't supposed to be teaching. I don't know why. I guess maybe they thought they were supposed to be home with their family or something.
Maybe they were supposed to be, maybe they were looking at the older boys although most older boys didn't go to school.
Some did. Oh, that was interesting. But, I did some information looking on this name, Travis. And that is not a real common name in this county.
No.
You hardly ever see the name Travis. And there was a George Travis in 1861, but he was up over the line in Jackson County by Osseo, so I don't think there was any relation there. However, in 1855, there is recorded evidence of Joshua Travis, Travis, filing on land here in what became Travers Valley.
Okay, so what year was that again?
1855.
1855,
Right.
Joshua Travis.
Right. He had filed. This is Town 22, Range 9, Section 22, which is kind of right up here. So that would have been nice farmland here, right? Nice, big and flat area. And I don't know if he was there very long, but then there's two different citations in the 1917 History of Trempealeau County book that was written, and the guy that wrote the book, this Curtis, his name was Pierce. He made this quote on page 280. He said, Travers Valley is named for Joshua Travis, an Indian herb doctor. The valley is often incorrectly called Traverse, but the band's own signature shows the correct spelling. Travis. Travis.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So this man was a very careful historian, Mr. Pierce. But there is documentation on May 7th, 1855, Joshua Travis taking possession here on Section 22. Now, both times he's...
Which side of the road is that? Do we know?
Well...
Maybe both, huh?
Yeah, it didn't give the quarter, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
he's referred to as an Indian herb doctor. So
Doctor.
did that mean that he was an Indian, or does that mean that he used herbs that were considered something that Indians used?
Okay.
I don't know. It didn't say. So that's kind of our mystery anyway.
So now, are we going to start riots in Travers Valley?
Well,
Change the sign! Change the sign!
but that brings up what I think is an interesting little bit of information, and that is that language is not static. It's dynamic. It changes, right?
Oofda, yeah.
Yeah. If everybody calls something or pronounces a certain word in a certain way, eventually that becomes the correct pronunciation. If it wasn't like that, we'd still be talking, Middle English or something. We would be pronouncing the K on, night.
Tonight?
Or canoe or other things. Things change, and if everybody calls it Travers Valley, and that's what it says on the maps,
That's what it says on the sign.
It
says on the sign.
Right, that's what it becomes. So
False signage.
I think that, these fistfights are not going to solve anything.
Oh, ye Nancy, you jest.
Yeah. Now, this road that goes back here is Growl Valley. At one time, it's a dead end now, but at one time it looked like on the map that went over into the next valley over, which is Wickham Valley.
Wickham Valley,
Yes.
okay.
I always think it's interesting on those old maps how many of these roads that now dead end were actually
Through?
continued. Yeah, were through roads.
Do you think it just got to be too much for the towns to maintain?
Oh, probably. Yeah.
As you know, as the farms consolidated and got bigger and travel was easier.
I'm sure.
And then now we're coming up on Garlic Road. I've always known this road as Growl's Dugway. And that's because here on the corner, now where, you know, the DOT made these funny little Y-shaped places to access roads, this is where the Growl farm was.
Yeah, and it was one of the premier farms in the county at its time.
It was it was like a 3-story house, and then on the road, or opposite side of the road, there was a huge dairy barn. And for the time, I think they milked like 20 or 30 cows.
It was a big farm.
Yes.
There was a George Growl and an Emil Growl. They had a lot of land out here.
Yes.
And as you can see now, there is nothing. There is not even a stone left.
No. And I remember that house when Laura was still living in it.
Right, yeah. For a while there, it was the Growl daughter, Laura, and her 2 brothers who weren't married, and she took care of them, and then eventually they passed on, and she continued on there by herself for a long time. But that was kind of the end of the Growls.
The Growl line.
Yeah. But
That's interesting.
Like I say, at one time, it was this big, beautiful, unique dairy barn. It was a big barn. I remember being impressed by it.
Yes.
And so now it's all gone, which just goes to show it's just vanity. All is vanity, you know. You can build up the biggest, fanciest house, and the next thing you know, a bulldozer's pushing it down, and that's the end of that.
And the history's gone.
That's
I wonder
it.
if anybody who's watching this show has pictures. I wonder if we could find a picture of that house. Because it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Yeah, that's interesting. But our viewers here can see that Travers Valley is this big, wide valley, at least on this lower end here. And
it's a long valley.
it's a long valley. It's wide. And I was looking at it. It said that in 1877, these are the names of some of the biggest landowners in Travers Valley. The Kukas, the Wojciks, the Hutchins, Kidders, Janets or Yanets. I don't know how you
Janets.
say it. Janets.
If you go to Milwaukee, it's Units with a Y.
All right. The Matchies and the Ligas, Hunts, Bugbees, and Samesiks. These were, you know, some of the bigger farms in the valley. There are a lot of farms in this valley, but those were some of the bigger ones. And they said that the first Polish settler was Theodore Sluga, and he was up here in section 17.
So that's further up the valley.
Right. So this farm that we're coming up to right now, that is the Shank farm, and that's been here for several generations, I believe.
Yeah, I think they got a date on the barn. We can check it out.
Yeah, and I remember they were selling, I don't know if they still do or not, they used to sell pumpkins in the fall. They had so many pumpkins. It was just neat going by.
Well, they were all prettied up too, painted.
Yes,
And well, you could get the regular ones, or you could get the ones with the faces on.
Yeah, they just had oodles of pumpkins. So that was somebody's fun thing anyway. And yes, we'll get up here and we will look at the dairy barn because, or I guess it's beef.
Beef, no, but dairy.
Is there a
I
date
thought
on
there was
No,
a date.
It just says Shank Brothers.
Shank Brothers.
Yeah,
But that's an
beef
old barn. You
farm.
can tell by the style.
Yeah.
But you know how innovative to take care of the structure and continue to use it,
Yeah,
right?
It is.
You know?
See, it's still being used.
And it's got those stone block. I wonder where those stone blocks came, probably from the other side of the road here.
Could be.
Because there's a lot of, everyone knows this, rock outcroppings.
yes.
There's a nice one right up there. That's probably where they built that barn out of. It's hiding in the trees.
And right up here,
Oh, yep.
I'm going to get over because there's some poor soul behind me.
Well, and if you go to the very, very, very end of this valley, that's where my Wallach relatives settled.
And this is the road that used to continue all the way up to Silver Fox Ridge.
Okay.
And now it's a dead end, but that was another road. Now, right ahead of us, this was the Travers Valley Bar for many years.
It was a fun place to go to play pool and shoot darts.
And I don't remember, I thought someone said they had to close it because they had problems with the water or something. But this, for many years, was the place to be on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, they had the best ice cream.
And there's the name on the side there, you see?
Yep. And now this says
Travers Valley.
Travers Valley.
Yep.
So now we have scandal once again.
We have dissension. Okay.
But there's a lot of agriculture in this valley.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, the soil is beautiful. And so this was probably an opulent valley. And, they were going to have their little city at the end of it. And then the railroad changed everything.
Yes. New City got
vamoosed.
swept aside because some citizens came up with enough money to persuade the railroad to put their depot where Independence is now.
Oh, so there was money behind the deal.
Money changed hands. Yes, I thought they said it was like $5,000, which was a lot of money in 1875 or 76.
That's a huge check.
And then they moved everything. They moved several buildings into Independence. And New City just kind of got left in the lurch. So if you had been, buying up property around New City and planning subdivisions, it didn't work out.
Well, what I find so interesting, Nancy, is that even though the town moved, the school persisted till 54.
Yeah, there were still people still remember about New City.
Well, and then there was the Catholic school in Independence as well.
Yep.
Was there another school in this valley?
Yes, we'll be up there in just a minute.
Okay.
Now, right ahead of us on the left, there's that brick house, and that it was a Marsalic farm. It still might be, but you might remember that Mr. Marsalic hadn't married. He lived with his mother. And I don't think he ever got a driver's license because he would drive around on this little tractor.
Yes.
Yeah. And then his mother had to go into the nursing home in Whitehall. And I can remember seeing him go by on wintry days when it was snowing and blowing and below zero. And there he was going down the road on that little tractor.
With no cab, no heater.
I know it. Talk about tough. But that was where he lived. And he got around just fine on that little tractor.
Yeah, for many, many years.
Okay, that was a good question that you asked me about the other school. And that was right up here. And so we'll have to stop here where that, up ahead of us, where you see that kind of a tan shed and a white building.
Yep, white little house.
That was what was called, first it was called Zimmer School, Z-I-M-M-E-R, and that was named after a man that was really kind of, he doesn't have much notoriety these days, but he was kind of a mover and shaker in his day. His name was John Zimmer, and he had fought in the Civil War, and he'd gotten wounded. And he'd gotten a land grant for his service. He was living down near Racine.
A land grant?
A land grant, which was pretty common. They kind of handed those out after the Civil War and other wars, too, I've noticed. And lots of people got these grants, and they never saw the land. They just
took it.
They sold it, they weren't interested. But this Mr. Zimmer and his wife, Margaret, they came up here and settled here, Section 17. And it said that he encouraged planting woodlots because at that time this valley did not have trees hardly at all. And so he was really instrumental. He tried to talk these other neighbors into planting trees and woodlots. So he was kind of a early conservationist, I guess. But the school up here, it was called Zimmer School. And they first organized it in 1865, so that was quite a while ago. And that ran until 1954. And New City closed the same year. And it had about 50 students most of the time. And this is what was interesting. The students were between the ages of 7 and 25.
7 and 25?
Yeah, because a lot of these young men who weren't able to go to school because they had to work on the farm, but they really wanted to get an education, so they would come to school even though they were in their 20s.
Wow. Good for them.
I know. I thought that is really nifty because they were really, it would be hard, I would think, to become a student with a bunch of other little kids in a one-room school when you're around the age 24 or 25, but they did. It was really important to them to get that education. So I think that was really neat. And this school, it was torn down. It was a brick school, the second one.
Okay.
And but this was the location where it was. They built their second school in 1904, and it was supposedly at the time one of the finest rural schools in the whole county.
Wow. And
they changed the name. They voted to call it Farmers School.
Farmers School.
Farmers School. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's be proud of being farmers. So they called it Farmers School.
And here we've got the Hunts Valley Road exit.
Right. Exiting here. If you go up there to the left, it will dead end. If you go up there to the right, you will come back, go past the Prokop farm and wind up back up on County Q. But that was another road I noticed on the old maps that it did not dead end on this end. It went up.
Hunts Valley?
Yep.
It went up and over.
It did.
And where would over be into? Would that be up into Boris Valley?
I wonder if it isn't that Natchez Road up at the end here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
But getting back to that school, when it was built, it was noted because it had a phone, and hardly any old country schools had phones. And they had their own Victrola, which was pretty unusual. And
a Victrola.
Yeah.
That's cool.
This and the last teacher at Farmer School was, last two teachers were Margaret Kulig and Mary Elstead.
So
your grandma taught at Farmer School as well.
Really?
Yeah.
We've got to look at that school history book because I want to know the years that she probably walked, because I don't remember her ever having a driver's license.
That would be a long walk out here.
Yeah, it would be.
And maybe she boarded out here. We don't know. A lot of teachers, boarded, so they didn't have to walk or drive.
But if she taught as Mary Elstead, well, again, we don't know if it was Mary Jellin.
She was probably Mary. Well, see, during World War II, so many of the men were away fighting that they changed that rule about teachers having to be unmarried.
Okay.
And they let married women teach and found out that
was okay?
That it was okay, yeah. Things did not fall apart because they had married women in there.
What I've noticed, Nancy, as we're going further northwest up the valley, it's starting to narrow up, isn't it?
Valleys do that, don't they?
That's it. They
do that.
This is a really, really big watershed.
Well, yeah, and a few years ago, remember they had that big rain up here?
Yeah, it was like 7 inches overnight, and really the water down at the end of the valley, closer towards Highway 93, I think they actually even had to close 93 because there was water over the road.
And coming up this valley after they'd had that big rain event, it was like a river had come down this valley.
Yes.
It was just, you could see corn knocked over. It was a mess. It really was.
Yeah, the forces of Mother Nature.
That was a lot of rain in a short time, and that's what happens.
And you know, this is a hot trout fishing area.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we got fishermen down there.
Yep.
Look at that.
We
And
got a sign right here.
oh, this is a Brookie, and this is the Travers Valley.
Spawning area.
Yep, we gotta have you pull.
Trout spawning area and the Elk Rod and Gun Club. And
Those guys are everywhere. They're
Oh.
awfully busy.
they do a lot of good conservation work in this county. It's
Awfully,
amazing.
awfully busy
Yes, they
men
are.
and women. You know, because the girls kick in on that too, you know.
Well, yeah, I should. It's not just the guys.
That's right. We gotta give the lady rod and gunners a shout out as well.
Have you ever gone trout fishing?
Yes.
Oh, sounds like fun.
I like to fish. I just don't, I need to take more time to do it.
Well, isn't that the way it goes?
Yes.
You know? I used to fish with a bamboo pole and worms and a bobber type deal.
Well,
But, to do actual fly fishing, that must be an art.
no, I didn't do the fly fishing. I was always a caster.
Oh, Mary, coming up here now. Are you on your toes? Because
We're on our toes. We got the camera running, I think.
you
Red
see
lights
what's going to
on.
happen up here?
Uh-oh, got your paperwork?
Oh, no, we're going to be leaving the county.
That's because Travers Valley is a long drive.
Yes. And look where we are going to be now.
We are going to be breaking the border.
Buffalo
And
County.
do they know we're coming?
We snuck across again.
There we go.
Yeah, this is such a big, long valley that, the upper part is in a different county. It's in Buffalo County.
Well, and you know what's interesting? It kind of narrows up and then it widens back out again
Yeah.
into multiple sub-valleys, because we've got the Matchy Road. And then further up here,
we have Poppy Valley.
yep,
Yeah.
Poppy Valley. And does Poppy Valley cut all the way up to the top of Montana Ridge?
Yes. So I think we'll come back down that way. We'll have a little bit of adventure here. How would that be today?
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, well, now our good fans, may remember that last fall we did 2 shows kind of up here. We did the one show on Tyson Ridge with the old cemetery,
Okay.
and we came down that road that had no name anymore and came down into Matchy Valley.
Right.
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and then we did, around Halloween, we did the show about Lavender Lily. We went looking for her. We never found her.
Nope.
But to those of you that are interested in those 2 shows, if you go to the WTCO homepage and go to playlists and then history files, both of those shows are archived there and you can watch them.
You can watch them again, get caught up on this neighborhood.
Yep. Because now up at the end of this valley is the Brogger farm, right?
Yes,
And the Brogger family had their roots in Switzerland,
correct.
and they've got this big farm up here. And for a while, and I don't know if it still is, was it Discovery Farms?
Yeah, they actually did some conservation research. Joe is very, very progressive, and they set up monitoring stations, and they looked at different type of conservation tillages to see kind of what affected what in terms of moving soil, because this is kind of a challenging farm. I mean, this farm's got a lot of slope, a lot of angle, and our farmers work really hard to keep the water clean, and he ponied up his farm to do research. And
that's wonderful.
well, and you think of all the work that farmers have to do, then to add a bunch of research projects on top of it.
That's pretty amazing.
It's really amazing. But yeah, it's a beautiful farm, very well kept.
Yes.
Beautiful cover crop over here. Yep. We like to see those cover crops. I know Steve and I were trying to find a gully of shame someplace in the county this year, but you know what, Nancy? We weren't able to find one.
Well, that was a good deal then, wasn't it?
Well, not in Buffalo County, in Trempealeau County.
Well,
we were
yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
But all the waterways seem to be grassed in. So, yay! No gully of shame this year, unless, of course, you know,
You were
something gives.
100% over the over the valley, probably.
That's right. That's right. But you know, we got to shout out because our farmers do a lot of conservation work for us
Well, they do.
and have no control over the pay prices that they get. And you know, we got to take our hats off to the farmers, especially coming into June Dairy Month.
That's right.
If you like ice cream, support a farmer.
If you like other goodies like butter and milk,
Food,
cream
meat.
cheese, yeah, all these goody things. Well, I'm going to pull over here, Mary, and let you get out and take some pictures behind us because we're going up this long hill, this long dugway, and it's really a beautiful view behind us. So I'm going to pull over right here so you don't fall into.
We could see down the valley. Is that beautiful or what? We live in such a beautiful place. And we are so lucky. And up to Montana Ridge we go.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh my gosh, here's someone coming up.
Perfect timing.
Bringing a load down this big hill.
Yeah, looks like they got a load of compost moving.
This is a long hill.
It is.
And there used to be another farm right down below us here as you go up the hill, the Dworshak farm.
Okay.
But look at this hillside, Mary. It's steep.
It's very steep.
Looky that.
That goes straight up.
You bet.
That's kind of like Billy Goat country.
Yeah. Or you'd have to get those brown Swiss cows because they're good at hills, right?
Yes. Kind of like the Alps.
Right? Yeah. I had a guy from Florida that didn't know anything about cattle, and I had him convinced that brown Swiss cows had shorter legs on one side.
Did you really?
Yeah, so
Nancy.
you could go around the hill, you know.
Without tipping over?
Right. Oh, well, that's a cute story.
That's kind of like the adage that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
Well, of course, everybody knows that, right?
Yes. Red cows.
Rock outcropping.
This is a dandy. Look at this one.
Yeah, rock outcropping.
Look at that.
And we are going up. We're still going up here, Mary. Are you?
Yeah, we're still going up. My ears are
there's
popping.
More wildflowers here.
More wildflowers. Aren't those pretty? Everybody likes rocks. We should do a geology show.
I don't know anything about geology.
No, but we can
get
find
a geologist somewhere.
We can find it out.
Yeah.
All we got to do is Google it.
I know, but that's not the same as someone that really knows their stuff, you know. Now, when we come up to the top of the hill here, we'll be up on Montana Ridge.
So where do you think Travers Valley really ends?
Well, I suppose at the top of the
At
hill
the top
here.
of the hill. We are back on the ticket.
We are up here. This is actually the highest point in Buffalo County.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There's Cook Valley.
Yep, and right up here, for like I say, people that watched our programs last fall, there is the little Catholic cemetery, and that had there'd been a church here at one time, and on the other side of the road there had been a store and a school, but this little cemetery has well, it's been part of the legend of Lavender Lily. So If you folks have not seen that program, go find it and look at it, and we'll discuss lavender lily. So what we're going to, if we would go straight ahead, we would come down into Cook Valley, which would wind up in Lookout.
Yes.
And then you could take a right to go to Independence or a left to go to Gilmington. And then remember, we went down this road,
Yes.
which doesn't even have a name, but it does connect. It comes down in Matchie Valley. And that was an interesting drive.
Yes, that's one where you want to go slow and you don't want to go after a heavy rain. And you do not want to be in a hurry, and you hope you don't meet anyone on the road.
And you don't want to be driving a semi.
No. I would even be nervous taking like a bigger pickup truck down that.
Yeah, it was an interesting road, but we'll go down a different way up here. We'll have a little adventure today. You know, you and I, our lives are pretty, you know, stolid and the same, you know, let's say from day to day. So we'll have a little adventure today.
There you go. Look
Yep.
at that.
So here we are up above Travers Valley.
I think we have to settle this dispute
You
right
think
now.
so, huh?
I think because the signs say Travers Valley.
Yeah?
I think we're going to have to go with Travers Valley. We apologize to the family lineage of Joshua Travis
Right.
for losing his namesake Valley road name. There may be recompense, you think?
Well, let's just say there's consensus that it is Travers Valley, because I even see that on maps. They call the creek Travers Creek and everything. So
Okay.
if that's what everybody decides it is, if that's what they want, then that's what it is.
There we go.
Yes.
Once it's printed on the map page,
Yep.
there's no denying it.
No. So if the Travis Valley, you know, if the family wants to come after us, that's just going to be tough.
Well, they'd have to come after a township, wouldn't they? Or the county. Who names roads?
Yeah. The highway department, I don't know. I have no idea.
We apologize to all you departments out there that are going to be getting angry Travis Valley
calls.
relative phone calls.
We better keep a low profile for a while, Mary, because we'll probably have highway department people telling us, oh, we've gotten like 200 angry calls from people saying, this is the way that valley is supposed to be pronounced.
Name that road.
Yes.
Rename that road. Oh boy, I think we're getting punchy.
Yeah, probably. But we're going to go up here, and we're going to go back down into the valley.
Okay, but we've run the ridge headed south pretty much.
Yes, we are. And we're still in Buffalo County. And behind us was Tyson Ridge. Now this is Montana Ridge. And like I said, we were up here looking for lavender lily.
And then we hit a second cemetery.
Yes, up here there is another cemetery. And I went by the other day and there was a sign up there now that wasn't there last fall. It said that it's Lutheran Cemetery. Because we couldn't find out who really was caring for that cemetery, but the sign says it's a Lutheran cemetery.
Does it have a church affiliation, or?
I didn't see that on the sign, but
In your history looking, was there ever a church up here?
there might have been. I don't really have books on the history of Buffalo County. Let's face it, my knowledge kind of ends at the border there, you know.
I knew that's why you had that stack of books in the back of the car.
Yeah, just don't like think about Buffalo. But we are going to take a left,
Oh, this is going to be a fun road.
and this road is going to take us down into
Okay, and you're going to have
Poppy Valley.
Okay.
Road.
Okay, so we've got Poppy, or is it Pappy?
I've always heard it pronounced Poppy.
Well, you never know.
I've never heard it pronounced Pape. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so maybe there's no controversy over this road name, huh?
Well, there's people that, when it's their family name, I guess. You know, you gotta respect the way that they pronounce it.
Well, and you know, names that pop into my head. You know, I've heard Scraw pronounced Scraw.
Yeah.
I've heard it pronounced Scrow.
Oh, okay.
Never
heard that.
I've heard Coop. And I've heard Cop.
Depends on what part of the county you live in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And same with that Scrows. There were Scrows down in the Trempealeau area and Scraws up in the Independence area. And they were a relative.
More controversy.
More controversy.
Are we opening a can of worms here, Mary?
I think so. You know, but I've noticed that people don't really seem to jazz up Anderson too much.
No, or Bergman either. Let's face it.
What did they say, that there is no controversy? I don't remember.
It's just one of those generic names, I guess. You know?
Yeah, cookie cutters. This, I would assume, would be a road you would not want to drive down after a heavy rain either.
Or a milk truck full of milk when it's icy.
Or a school bus.
Yeah, that might be interesting, huh?
I wonder if they maintain this in the wintertime.
They do.
They do.
They do, yes. I was up here one time in the winter and came down this way. Yeah.
On purpose?
Yeah.
Were you fading, you know, Nancy's dancing with the...
No, they keep it open and... Yeah, I mean, it's
salted?
not paved, but still, it's a good enough road. Nothing wrong with it.
No, it's actually pretty well maintained, not too jiggly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area here. And it's interesting because we talked about that Mr. Zimmer that tried to get people to plant trees.
Okay.
And I guess that was successful anyway, because we certainly have trees up here now.
Definitely. A lot of trees.
Oh, and another aside about that Zimmer, Mr. Zimmer, he and his wife had a daughter that married into the Cripps family. That's another pioneer name around Independence.
Yep, I remember Cripps. Mrs. Cripps was at the library when I was
there was, the daughter of the Zimmers married Giles Cripps Jr., and they had a daughter, Mildred, and I think she was the one that was the librarian in town for a long time. That's what people remember her as. But there are a couple of farms up here.
Yeah.
With those, like, turn-of-the-century substantial brick farmhouses.
Do you think all those bricks came out of the Independence brick shop?
There are Arcadia. There were a couple of brick makers, whatever they call around here.
Brickery?
Brickeries? Brickets? I don't know. Brickets? But that was the thing to do right around the turn of the century and on into the 20s. You know, your house was made out of bricks. That meant you were substantial.
Opulent.
Yes. You were forging ahead in the world. And here's another one.
That's a big brick house.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if this valley had 2 schools in it, you had to have big houses because the big houses were full of kids.
That's right. You needed lots of help on the farm in those days. And that's why we were talking about the kids that went to the farmer's school. Some of them weren't kids anymore, but they hadn't had the opportunity to really finish their education because they had to be at home working.
Isn't that incredible? How the times have changed.
Yeah, it is. I just think you got to give those people so much admiration because they really wanted to improve their lot in life through education.
Long hours on the farm, school during the day. That was, I'm sure, before the mechanical horse, huh?
Oh, I'm sure. At school buses, you had to get to school on your own power.
Or you.
Oh, here's another.
Here's another trout project. I think spawning.
I think so. Let me get down here so you can get the sign.
Yeah, we are way back towards the end of Travers Valley. And there we've got our little sign. I'm going to try to zoom in on. Give our plug out to our Elk Run Gunners. There we go. Yep, nice clean water flowing down through here. Cover crops on both sides.
Now you can see the stream's not very big up here.
No, but
that year that they got the 8 inches really fast, this was not a little stream for a while.
no, both sides were full of water.
Yep, it was a flood. There was no other way to describe it.
It was impressive, Nancy.
It was. It was like the whole middle of the valley must have been just a river.
Yeah, it laid everything flat all the way down to the highway.
It did.
Even floated round bales.
Oh yeah, there were parts of trees and limbs and old corn stalks jamming up culverts and stuff. It was a big mess.
Goes to show you don't want to make Mother Nature angry.
Yep.
She's got a bad attitude.
Just when you think that you've got everything under control, Mother Nature comes along and
Gives you.
tells you that you really do not.
And so here we're at the end of Poppy Road.
Okay.
And that's a nice, if you need to take a Sunday drive or just need to get out of the house, this Travers Valley, Poppy Road, Montana Ridge Loop, that is a very nice drive.
Yeah. I mean, that was, okay, it's a gravel road, but we certainly didn't have any problems, did we?
No.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's really cool, Nancy, that this long valley has such a long history.
Right, yeah, it was, like I say, if one of the first settlers was 1855, that's about when they were opening up this land, that had gotten surveyed and people could buy it legally. And at that time, I think they had to go down into La Crosse to buy land and get it recorded.
And that's quite a hike from here.
Boy, I guess so.
Once again, probably with a horse or a team or,
An ox?
something that could carry you instead of having to walk.
Oh, guess what, Mary? We're going to be back in Trempealeau County.
Here we go.
We made it.
We made it. There's our sign. Now we're free and clear.
Yep, we're back here. So I just think this is an interesting, valley, and it's quite well known up in this end of the county. People know where Travers Valley is.
And it's a nice drive.
Yeah, paved road. What more can you ask for, huh? And then down here on our right, there is another road that goes off Liga Valley.
Yep.
And that one goes back up onto Montana Ridge too. And that's a pretty long valley too. It's fairly wide, and there's some roads that go back in there. There are some farms back in there, like Philo Road, and it's just big. There's a lot to this valley.
A lot of geography.
There is. And rock outcroppings as well.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
Different colored ones too.
You bet.
I wonder what made the orange, but we'll find that out.
That's a good question.
Because some of them are orange, and I would assume it has something to do with the amount of iron. And some of them are white.
Yeah.
And some of them are yellow.
Yeah,
lot of corn.
somebody's probably watching this and saying, "Oh, I know why."
There we go.
Now, right there on the right where you see the bridge, that is Liga Valley. So you can go up there, and that'll take you back up to Montana Ridge as well. It's a through road. And if you watch those programs we did last year, Tyson Ridge and Lavender Lily, we did come down Liga Valley Road.
Well, and that name, is it Liga or Liga?
I've always heard Liga, but you grew up in Independence, not me.
And I kind of knew it as Liga.
Okay.
But that was one of those original names that when we first started, you know, just like Hunt
Yeah.
was an original name.
Yeah.
So at least some of the founders of Travis Valley got to keep their road names, right?
Yeah, well, that's right.
See, notice how I'm stirring up that pot a little bit?
Yeah, all kind of controversy here. We won't be able to walk down the street in Independence without getting in a fist fight, probably.
There we go. Is it Liga Valley? Is it Liga Valley?
Oh, you just go on and on and on. So, well, anyway, I guess, you know, Mary, we'll just have to wrap this up, and we'll just have to say that Traverse, it is what it is.
Exactly. And we'll see you next time on
The
History Files.